Welcome, Hawk fans. Welcome to another episode of Hawk Talk. I am your host, Colin Cole, and today I bring to you another great episode. And of course, we're going to be talking about the number 17 Iowa Hawkeyes versus the number 25 Kentucky Wildcats in the VRBO Citrus Bowl down in Orlando, Florida. But before we get to that, I got to introduce my resident co-host, the two-time All-Big Ten, three-year started offensive tackle, the man, the myth, the legend, out of the Windy City himself, Mr. David Porter. David, thank you for joining me today, sir.
Thanks for having me, man. It's always a pleasure to be here. Happy New Year to you and all the Hawks out there. One day you will let me introduce you. Please, be great. I got you.
Well, thank you, David. I think I would definitely give you that honor at some point. I don't know that it's all that important, but thank you for wanting to do that. Anyways, let's jump right into it, David. What an interesting game out of this VRBO Bowl down there in Citrus Bowl, I should say, down there in Orlando, Florida. We all know that Spencer Petras got the nod that started at the quarterback. The Hawks had opportunities. They started off slow, but they had opportunities. The two-headed monster of Gavin Williams and LaShawn Williams at running back had over 170 some odd yards rushing. This group had a great opportunity down there in Orlando, David, but came up short right there at the end, man. What did you see in that game?
Yeah, it's exactly what you said. The offense started off really slow. And we had two interceptions in the first half, and that really just kind of ended a lot of stuff for us. The turnover battle, we lost that. So that really, with some of the miscues we had, that kind of shot ourselves on the foot with that stuff. It was a really tight contest, and we did have the game. We had the lead all the way to the end, and then Kentucky came down and scored. So it was a tight game, really highly contested. I enjoyed watching it, other than the loss. We had some tips and some overthrows that we were actually doing that cost those three interceptions. The running game wasn't impacted as much as I thought it was going to be, but the turnovers are the thing that really killed us. Now, when I look at the time of possession too, we're looking at 22 minutes that we had the ball versus almost 38 that Kentucky had the ball. So in our defense being out there in the field, that's another thing that we've been talking about all season, right? So being able to sustain drives, limit the amount of turnovers. Our offensive line actually didn't play poorly at all. We had 0 sacks for the game. There were some pressures given up that led to an interception. But overall, I thought our offensive line play was pretty good. The one glaring spot right there was at QB, where we had some miscommunications, some errant throws. Things were overthrown, sometimes underthrown. It just wasn't clicking that game. So our offense sputtered early, and as we got into the game, we didn't score a touchdown until our first touchdown came in the third quarter. And by then, our defense had been on the field quite a bit, and they put up a valiant effort in the second half. But in the end, they gave up that touchdown, and that lost the game.
Time of possession, you mentioned 37 minutes, 54 seconds for a team like Kentucky, who clearly had some good athletes. The quarterback was a big 6'5" guy. He was a pretty good athlete himself. One of the things that we noticed about the game that I noticed, one of the things that we talked about in the pregame was about them having to be able to stay on the field, having to be able to convert on third down, and they were 2 of 6, unfortunately. Kentucky was 4 for 5 on third down in short situations. The Hawks couldn't convert. The other thing that was a glaring issue in that game, there were 0 receptions for Iowa wide receivers Charlie Jones and Nico Reganey. And Keegan Johnson, as we all know, did not play in the game. I think it was, I don't know what the exact issue was behind that. I think that was later came out as to why, but he did not play in the game, but the receivers did not catch many passes. Laporta and Lachey, both of those tight ends, made some plays for the Hawks. But yeah, man, what did you see in that in that early going? Like we saw clearly the offense started off slow. It was a slow starting game. Kentucky marched down the field right off and got the score right off in the first quarter. But then the Hawks settled in, especially coming out in the second half, and they started leaning on that run game. What what do you think really happened? What clicked for this team and this offense that created the confidence for this running game to kind of start back and find itself in this game?
Yeah, we started to mix things up a little bit. The running game started to take off a little bit more as we got Sam Laporta caught the ball and we started getting some down the field, I guess, stretching the defense here. And we got some down the field plays that opened up the run game there a little bit, right? Gavin Williams really came in and ran really hard for us. He ran with a purpose. He went out there and instantaneously when he got that ball, I saw a gear shift. It was like it went from like, okay, we're in play, then fast forward. Like, cool. Then we start mixing it up, right? Got some sprint options out there. We had a couple screen passes that started to loosen up the defense, and the defense was caught off guard a little bit. So now that was good that we were mixing it up and we weren't so predictable, right? The big issue became, again, once we started to start seeing the tips and overthrows really affect us on our side. That was a really big issue. We had 2 interceptions in the first half alone, right? That really hurt. And that last interception, that sealed the game. That was a done deal at that point. So we didn't really become that one-dimensional team like we thought we're going to have happen. But we did not win that turnover battle. But getting the running game going is actually what helped keep us in the game. The offensive line playing better and not giving up a sack, that really helped keep us in the game. We kept doing the things that were the right things to keep us in the game, and it was a good thing. Unfortunately, not everything was clicking, and that ultimately led to us losing the game by 3.
3 interceptions by Spencer Petras in that game. You mentioned 2 in the first half, the last one coming at the end of the game on that last drive. But you can't put it all on his shoulders. He made some good throws. There were some opportunities that we saw the playbook open up a bit. Brian Ferentz definitely took some more shots in this game that I would say it happened in the last couple of games. So it was good to see that offense push the ball down the field and get the opportunity for those receivers to make some big plays. And some of those were made. So switching it on the other side of the ball, Kentucky's wide receiver, Wan'Dale Robinson, he had 170 receiving yards. And it was kind of David Bell Purdue-esque almost in terms of what he was capable of doing against our defense. And I think you made mention to the fact that the guys just kind of got worn down, tired out there. It was a tough game. And the defense really stepped up. The offense stepped up in the second half, put themselves in the best possible position to possibly get that win at the end of the game. But this brings the Hawks last 8 games to 4-4, having gone on a 4-game streak down the stretch prior to losing, obviously, the Big Ten championship in this game. Where does this team go? Where does this defense go? Where does this team go? It's been a bit of a tough go of it because this defense and special teams have been the backbone of this team, and clearly they got to replace some key positions. I just saw before we got on air that what's our safety's name? Matt Kerner is actually going to be taking his talents on to the next level. So that's another player out of our secondary that's going to be gone. So what are your thoughts on this defense? What happened in the game, as well as how they move forward, and this team moving forward, obviously into the off season and preparation for the spring and into 2022.
Well, the defense continues to be special. I mean, they are. They didn't start out this game. They didn't start very fast. We gave up a touchdown on Kentucky's first possession, and that's tough. And then after that, we gave up 2 field goals until the fourth quarter. We gave up that last touchdown. Right. There were some things that happened out there that I saw where Ben Valkenburg, he had a tackle right there on Chris Rodriguez, and it just kind of just slipped right out there one-on-one right there at that time. You got to make that play. You got to show up. And he's tired. He's exhausted. He's been out there for a long time. And again, it's not like it just happened then. That's from first part of the game, right? It's an all accumulation of everything that happened at the beginning of the game. That here we are in the fourth quarter, and we're right there one-on-one. Got the tackle and just exhausted. That's Chris ran right through his tackle, and I think that was actually ran in for a touchdown that time. So we're We are a really good defense. We really are. This defense, I'm going to keep saying they're special. We have some special plays over there. They're going to have to retool and really sit down and figure out how they're going to move forward. And this is this team, and that, you know how it goes in college. The seniors are going to move on. And right now we're getting some talented people in there. They're going to be moving on earlier, right? It's going to retool. How, okay, this is our identity. This is what we do. This is how we do it. How do we do it better? Right? Every year it's going to be how do we do it better. Now, we're at a point where we're hoping for that, not just that incremental change, but an exponential change, right? Because we had really, maybe me personally, had high hopes for this team this season. I thought this is one of the better defenses I've ever seen at Iowa. And we have one of the better special teams I've ever seen as far as put together. And this team as a whole is a really, really good team. We have some really great guys out there. Putting it all together, we had a very special team. I think it's a very special team that even at, what are we, 10-4 now? It's one of the best teams, one of the better records we've had in a long, long time. And for this team, it feels like we underachieved. That's how good these guys are. At 10-4, it feels like an underachievement. So that I guess that tells you how special this team really is, or how special they really have the potential of having. They are really good. Special teams are special. Defense is special. Retooling, getting our secondary back in and healthy. You know, Matt Hankins not being out there. Riley Moss, he's All-American. We have some guys out there that are just really good, and they're going to be coming back. You know, I think this defense is going to continue to do what they've done, and that's be good and be special. There are going to be some players that are going to step up and come in there. We're going to have some new recruits coming in. Looks like we have some really nice recruits coming in, top-rated ones. So we'll see what happens next year.
Yeah. I agree with you. Van Valkenburg had a great game overall. I believe he had 2-3 sacks in that game. The defensive line as a whole was picked it up overall. The pressure was constant on Kentucky's quarterback. And but unfortunately, a couple of those guys we won't be getting back. Hankins is a senior. Riley Moss is a senior. He's an All-American. And Van Valkenburg is also a senior. So we have a number of guys that will be off of this defensive roster. So retooling and finding the next man up over these next few months to figure out who's going to be a part of this team and really key contributors on both sides of the ball is where this coaching staff has to go from here. So it's going to be interesting, obviously, as you go into the offseason, trying to retool and figure out who's who, what's what, and where this thing goes from here. So, you know, but that's the best part of college football. You know, it sucks, clearly. These guys played their hearts out, laid everything on the line, and it was a tremendous effort on both sides of the ball, coming up just short. I mean, honestly, I felt as though had that game continued and the turnover didn't happen in the last minute, this team had opportunity of winning. So obviously, missing the tackle and allowing Rodriguez to get in the end zone was the demise of the team, but it was a lot leading up to that caused that situation to happen. So as a team as a whole, proud of these guys, proud of the effort that this team put forth. I agree with you at 10-4, this group of guys definitely felt like it underachieved for what this team had and for where they were, at one point being the number 2 team in the nation. But having a taste of victory and having a taste of what it is to have that national spotlight, I'm sure those young men that are part of the team that moving forward will have a lot of energy to bring to the table. And Kirk's going to have a lot of work to do to figure out who's going to be his go-to guys moving forward. And especially at quarterback, I think both quarterbacks have different things that they bring to the table and have done a tremendous job when they had their opportunities. So between Padilla and Petrus, it's going to be a bit of a battle in the spring, and let the best man win out of that competition and see who can emerge as the Hawks starting QB out of that. And I think it'll be a great opportunity, man. But tremendous season overall, David. It's been a great talking and doing this all season. I appreciate your insight all throughout, man. Is there anything else you want to jump on before we close this one out?
I do have one question for you. I mean, we watched the game. Were you surprised that Padilla didn't see the field?
Honestly, I felt like early on the offense struggled like it usually has, throughout the season. They tried to find their footing against a very tough SEC team in Kentucky. I don't know that I would have made a change, because when the way they came out in the second half and how things were moving, it was and the shots that they took and the shots that they were able to make. It was definitely a good overall offense. But we can all look back and say, hindsight is 2020. We should have maybe done something different. Ultimately, that's a tough deal to have to go with a two QB system, especially against a tough team like that. But when you start getting momentum going your way and the running game is taking off like it is, and you're able to play action and take advantage of different things, man, that's who Hawkeye football has been for so long. So I was not surprised, or I don't see a change of it having happened in that game at that point, just because of the flow of the game at that point. And if it would have happened, it would probably happened in the first or second drive of the game, because we sputtered early on. So, but yeah, the way it went, I think they continued with the right hand. Yeah. So anyway, that's going to be our show. Thank you all for joining us, man. I'm Colin Cole with David Porter. It's been awesome all season to be able to bring this show to you. It's been a tremendous honor to be able to talk Hawkeye football, and just to see how this program has kind of excelled and worked their butts off as this graduating group of seniors moves on to their next endeavors in life. But as we both know, that football lasts only so long, and this great opportunity that these young men have, they got to take full advantage of it. So with that, I am Colin Cole for David Porter. God bless and go Hawks.
Go Hawks.